Oh, I think it failed to play the clip on the. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, we're live now. Hello, everybody.
What up?
I swear StreamYard does something wrong like every time we try to go live. Anyways, how's it going, guys?
Good.
You ever get a hankering to play RuneScape when you haven't played it in over 16 years?
No, I'm not ancient, Christopher.
Actually, yes. I do. Hey now. Hey now. You watch yourself.
That's where I'm at right now.
Sorry, hold on. We're not there yet. Oh, goodness gracious. This is already flying off the rails. Yes, I do actually get a hankering to play RuneScape. Pretty I quit trying because they kept changing it. Every time I would get on, it would be very different. I would just get annoyed.
Dude, I joined like 8 years ago and there was like a tutorial sequence that you did.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you had to bake a cake. I'm like, what wonder is this? My RuneScape didn't have no tutorial. Like when it launched.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories to tell people. My best friend, for years, he was the best man at my wedding. I should say one of my best friends, because I have a lot of friends that I care about deeply. When we were playing RuneScape together, and he asked me if I wanted to make money by farming cow hides for leather, and that I would get the cow hides and then he would pay me for the hides. And this was my first lesson in economics when I was like 11, was learning about capitalism, and that he was making unbelievable profit on my labor.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was getting paid for this was not nearly what I could be making if I just went to the market and sold it myself.
Right. Yeah. Dude, the marketplace taught everyone economics very young. It was awesome.
It was so funny. When I found out, I was like, are you kidding me? He was like, it's just business, man. I was like, we're 11. What are we doing? Anyways, apologetics.
Yes.
So last time, we were covering the evidences for the Bible, right? It's the case for the Bible. And we covered a lot of ground, but we talked about like the different preservation methods that were used. We talked about the uniqueness of its composition, how it was compiled over 40 different books. I mean, I guess 40 different authors, 66 books for the Protestant canon, 3 different continents, technically 3 languages, and it all has one unique unified story. And so we were giving a lot of information, and this stream is going to be the finishing of that slideshow, but it's going to be incredibly nerdy. Okay, this is for the nerds. All right, this is archaeology and philosophy or prophecy. We are going to talk about archaeology that brings a lot of evidence to the truth of the scriptures, and we're going to talk about prophecy, which fulfilled prophecies that are also major evidences for the scriptures. And I don't know how about you two. Actually, Chase, do you share the same love for archaeology as your father?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
For the most part. Yeah, you look terrible on my screen, Andrew.
Yes, you're very pixel.
Yeah.
You look like you're streaming from RuneScape.
Horrible.
Back in 2001.
No, RuneScape looks much better than you do right now, dude.
Not back in 2001.
My screen does not show that. I should pull it. Maybe I should pull up the live stream on my phone and make sure that everything's okay. I do. Yeah, look a little blurry. Look like
you're in like 480p.
I don't think it's my camera. Interesting. Earlier, my cat disconnected my Wi-Fi, so I really hope that doesn't happen again. They just do stuff, man. They're just little gremlins, and they just. She was just laying on the router, like her whole body, like just across the router, and just like wagging her tail, looking at me like a dog. And I'm like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do what you did. Anyways, I don't.
Archaeology books. Well, just archaeology in general. Yeah.
All right. Unique and verification. We are going to cover that. So, am I still like bad? Am I still like broken up super pixelated?
No, actually, you look so much better right now.
Because you're tiny, yeah.
Yeah, because you're tiny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Your resolution matches your side now.
Oh, it's
Size.
fine. I see. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. All right. So, let's get a move on. So when we talk about how the Bible is, Roy, I don't know if I want to try your riddle,
Dude,
because I don't think it's gonna end in a way that I want to. So I'm not gonna. I don't know. So when we're talking about how the Bible is unique in its verification, we're talking about the past with archaeology that confirms historical accuracy, and the future with fulfilled prophecy, and how that proves some form of divine source. And when we're talking about verification, what we're saying is the Bible provides you with means to discredit it. Okay, there are avenues and there are ways to discredit the Bible by what it implies, because it gives you very detailed information about history and about the historical context that it comes from. These are disprovable issues. However, what we start to see when we study archaeology is that over time, a lot of the things that got discredited in the scriptures appeared to be true. A lot of things that people tried to discredit appeared to be true. And then when we talk about fulfilled prophecy, we have internal fulfilled prophecy. And now for some people, I think they miss this. And I'm actually going to take this down for a second, just since I'm kind of rambling. But some people kind of miss this when we're talking about the fulfillment of prophecy, because they look at the Bible as like just one contained tome, right? Like this is just one book. And so, if there's a prophecy here that gets fulfilled here, well, to the average person, that's not that big of a deal. It's like, oh, well, that was just like, yeah, writers do that all the time. It's called foreshadowing. But the issue is that this is not fictional work. This is a collection of 66 books by 40 different authors. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Crazy. It would actually be incredibly hilarious if it did get banned. if it did happen, I'm like, oh dang, I should have listened.
We should have listened to Yeta Belivstermang.
Oh no, Allah sent a warner and we didn't listen. Oh no.
Setraming. Setraming. It's like a freaking Asian dude trying to voice make it. Oh my god.
But anyways, back on topic. But so when we're talking about if one author of a specific work, so if the author of Genesis included a prophecy, and then that prophecy gets fulfilled and it's documented by the author of Joshua, and those two works were written significantly far apart, that's what we're talking about, is that there's internal fulfillment of prophecy, but there's also fulfillment of prophecy that is external, because it's future, right? So it's set up in the scriptures to be fulfilled in the future. And some of those have happened in our lifetime. Or not, sorry, I guess in the last 2,000 years, I should say, not specifically our lifetimes. But
Only the last 2,000 years.
Well, I was speaking of, the future fulfillments, specifically, but there's also,
How did you go from our lifetime to the last 2,000 years?
Listen. Okay, don't worry about it. All right. Now let's go back to the
I
slides.
looked up his account. He's in Indonesia.
Yes, dude. I knew
Just
it.
have some random Indonesian AI poster that is
It's
counting down your demise.
He's
Thumbs
missed
up.
a minute so far.
We've been warned.
He is in the future. He is living in the
50
future.
seconds.
It's all tomorrow for him.
Chill. We
tomorrow.
8 minutes. Not even a
Also,
full
I love
minute.
how he added
We're at
permanently
50
to the
seconds.
Yeah, he
made
added
him
permanently.
Mark Street.
I think we just made him mad. I think that was like, you know what? You lose your 8 minutes. You get 50 seconds.
If you do not stop, you will go to jail.
All right. So
that's funny.
keep moving forward here. So we're talking about, first we'll talk about archaeology, and this is a lot. Okay, this is a lot. So we're just gonna barrel through it. So this is Nelson Gluck. I don't know how to say the Glubick. No archaeological discovery has ever controverted a biblical reference. And he's been credited for discovering over 1,500 sites. And we've got Dr. J.O. Kinnaman. He says, of the hundreds and thousands of artifacts found by the archaeologists, not one has ever been discovered that contradicts or denies one word, phrase, clause, or sentence of the Bible. And it's funny because you often get a lot more people telling you that the Bible cannot be proven and that there is no evidence that supports the Bible. There is no archaeological evidence that proves the Bible. And that is just very far from the truth. And think about it, right? There are thousands of historical references in the Bible to people, places, and events. And like truly, if you're unaware, like this is one of the things that I point out, I think pretty early in Chase and I's endeavors into Islam, is that one of the major differences between the Bible and the Quran, which I also have right here, one of the Penguin's classic version of the Quran. Yeah, real official here. Not sure why it's a classic, but no, Dawood.
Fancy.
Yeah, but so the Bible is very explicit on its history. Okay, it is not dodging history. It tells you exactly where things are happening, when things are happening, who it's happening to, who is involved. That does not exist in the Quran. You get incredibly vague history with like minor evidences of time period. So you've got like one prophecy about the Byzantines. That's like it. And it's very ambiguous. And of course, not to just, prattle off and sound like a hater, which I guess I am, but if you don't want a lot of scrutiny, you don't use a lot of facts in the sense of like the historical terrain that you're in. When you add a lot of hold on, this guy's annoying me. Ban user, delete comments. Thank you. All right, get out of here. All right, so when you add more and more sorry, that was funny. But when you add more items of scrutiny, as in you just keep adding historical factors, you're opening yourself up to try and be refuted, because eventually someone is going to come along and challenge your history and say, no, that person didn't exist at this time period, or that kingdom had already fallen by this time. Like, there's no way this could have happened. but yet the Bible is chocked full of those things, and we've yet to have a solid piece of evidence to prove historically that the Bible is false.
Ironically, every single thing in the 1800s was like the big pushback against the Bible. Whatever reason, the devil just kicked it into overdrive. Now he may have like become more aware of, oh yeah, like the end times are nigh, and he just like ramped it all up. But in the 1800s, everyone started doubting everyone. All the cults were spawned. There were like 20, 30, 40 cults that were spawned in the 1800s, including all your favorites. And you have all of these critics coming against the Bible for the first time. They're like, oh, well, David never existed. What are you talking about? Pontius Pilate never existed. That's nonsense. So like every figure you can think of in the Bible, they're like, oh, no, that person didn't even exist. You're making it all up. This is all stupid. Jesus isn't even a real person. And then like we find the tomb of Pontius Pilate and the tomb of David and inscriptions of David.
Don't we have it's a census that has Pilate's name on it as well, I believe.
We have a bunch of things with the Pilate on it, yeah.
Yeah.
So not only do we have a census, we also have a bunch of historians talking about him.
Right.
Who actually get things wrong. Well, a thing wrong, which is very interesting to me. They call him the procurator of Judea when the Gospels get it right and call him the governor of Judea.
Oh, hey, Hugh,
procurator,
you're here. Welcome back. This is he was one of the guys who was debating with me. He was debating with me. The ones when I was talking about how there were 3 guys trying to debate with me at once, and they were all talking about different topics, and I got really overwhelmed. This is one of them. Welcome, Hugh. Hugh, I believe you may have to. This is actually great. I'm so glad you're here. Actually, hold on. This is fun. Hugh, in chat, let me know. Were you the one who claimed that there was no chance that the Hellenistic Jews that were living in Palestine at the time could have known Koine Greek? That you claimed that they only would have known Aramaic, they could not have known Hebrew, and they could not have known Koine Greek? Because I've actually been wanting to talk about this, but I really didn't want to go back to that chat thread because I was just over it between the amount of back and forth. There was like 50 comments on that thing, and I could not deal with it. I was struggling to keep up. Anyways,
so for those who don't know, Koine means street, like common. It's like
it's the common tongue.
It is a downgraded version of Greek. It is like, I don't know a great example for like modern English, but it's like Shakespearean English versus like the slang you hear in New York City. It's essentially the slang you hear in New York City. It's just kind of random nonsense, very basic level. Nothing deep about it. It's just like the bare minimum Greek you need to get by. Everyone knew it. Literally everyone. Everyone was at least a bilingual, because if you didn't know it and you lived in Rome or in the Roman Empire, you would have a much higher chance of being killed by the guards and like the Roman legion. Like they would shout orders at you in Greek. If an angry Roman soldier is mad at you and shouting something at you in Greek and you don't know what he's saying, you're probably going to get killed.
Yeah, the concept that the common tongue was not known to all who were living in Rome is actually insane.
Right.
And I mean, even and like I said earlier, even if you went with the idea that they maybe could speak Greek, but they couldn't write in Greek. Okay, I guess maybe I don't think I'm not sure that would be possible, but even if it was, you could argue that the original manuscripts that we don't have, we acknowledge we don't have the original copies of the Gospels. They could be written in Aramaic, and then their followers could have written them in Greek to get them to everybody. Have translated them into Greek for everybody. But one of the things that I think is the most like the Septuagint was the scriptures they used were Greek. They were in Greek. They were Hellenistic Jews. Anyways,
well, even the non-Hellenistic Jews still had access to it.
Based open theist Tommy's Testament. The KJV is the only inspired word of God. Stop speaking about Greek and Hebrew. If it was enough for Joseph, it was good enough for me.
Yeah, Jesus himself actually read from the King James Version. He only read the red lettered parts, though. You figure that out for yourself.
Oh my favorite video on the internet is that old school fundamentalist Baptist pastor telling people that he could correct the Greek with the King James Bible. That is my favorite video. I love it so much. It's so funny.
I was interacting with a KJV only person the other day, and I went to their website or blog post, and there was literally that statement of, if the plain reading isn't good enough in the KJV, your interpretation is wrong. And any appeal to the Greek or Hebrew is fallacious and even sinful.
I mean, dude, I read the King James Version, and there are translations that I don't like about it. There are several in the Psalms that is just not accurate. Straight up just not accurate.
I mean, even at the time of when it was written, there are words that were mistranslated then. Not like the definition change, which happens a lot. So the language itself, the words, what they mean back then versus now is way different. But even back then, there was mistranslations that happened.
Right.
Like Genesis 1:1 is mistranslated.
Yeah, and they also didn't have the Revelation, the book of Revelation. They didn't have the manuscripts to properly translate it. And while it was incomplete when they were in the States, and they didn't want to wait, and they went off memory. I was watching a video about this. They went off their memory because they dedicated themselves to the scriptures, and so they thought they had a pretty good idea of everything in it, and they just went off memory, and then they fixed it when the book got to them. They fixed it, but there was a time where the revelation was not totally accurate, which is pretty funny to think about. May the grace of the flawed Wesley Curry II be with you always. Oh, I don't think he's graced our stream,
dude. You keep talking about Wesley, bro. We haven't watched a good Wesley Curry flick in a while, Tommy. Come on, we got to get back on our feet.
Oh, right. Hold on. I just noticed something. I want to be a part of it. Okay, there we go. All right,
Chris, I wish you'd actually read the Bible, then you'd deconvert. Instead of reading the Bible and becoming even stronger in your faith, realizing just how based it is.
No, I've never actually read it, you know.
Yeah.
You don't think do you actually believe none of us have read the Bible? Like actually at all? Why would we even do this? Why would we do this if we just didn't read the Bible? But Hugh, you didn't answer my question. You didn't answer my question, dude. Do you actually believe? First off, do you know what the word Hellenistic means? I don't mean to be rude. I'm just asking. Do you know that Hellenistic Jews were Jews that were heavily influenced by Greek culture? Do you know that the common tongue of Rome was Koine Greek, and there is actually no reason that the Jews wouldn't know how to speak and write in Greek? So your case that they wouldn't have been able to do that is baseless. It actually makes no sense. And I am waiting for your response, because even if I tried to type that out in the comment section you were debating with me in, you wouldn't have listened to me. But now I can talk to you. So please put it in the comment section and tell me why I'm wrong that Hellenized Jews would have known Koine Greek. All right, let's get back to our presentation while I wait patiently for his response.
Have you ever gone by the name Muslim Defender before?
Oh, don't even. I'm waiting for the day that he actually comes into our streams. I don't know if he ever will. But all right.
There were also Hellenistic Jews living inside of Israel too.
It's a mindset, Tommy.
For a long time, when I was younger, I did not realize that Hellenistic Jews were just like Jews that were influenced by Greek culture. I just thought they were truly a different like sect of Judaism. Which, to be fair, I mean, obviously we know about the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Just at that time,
Right.
there were so many branches of Judaism. They were divided so poorly divided at the time. Anywho, so the number of archaeological discoveries relating to the Bible are in the hundreds of thousands. Not even one discovery has shown the Bible to be incorrect, even after 200 years of intense archaeological pursuit.
Mm.
And what about what? Hold on. Oh, sorry. I was earlier in this presentation. There's a whole thing about the other scriptures. Obviously this makes sense, but I was confused for a second. So about the other scriptures. So the Book of Mormon, I've never actually fully read the Book of Mormon, but I know it is actually more scrutinizable than the Quran, because it claims actual tribes going to war with each other. And you can argue this with DNA. You could argue this that there was never groups in America that they claim were in America.
But also it claims that certain animals and certain weaponry and armor and everything else was in America, and it never was.
Right.
So like he didn't know that horses weren't domestic. He didn't know that we didn't have armor plating and they didn't have swords. So a lot like if you've read the actual way that he describes the civilizations, their language, their money system, because we have coins, but not coins that match anything close to that. It's like they did use currency in some way, but they were largely bartering societies. So they didn't have the type of civilization that he explained. They didn't speak the languages that he talked about. They didn't have the DNA they talked about. There's none of them living on the moon. There's none of them living in the Arctic, because he does claim that Jews live in the North Pole. None of
You're trying to tell me the Jews don't live in the North Pole?
No, the Jews don't live in the North Pole or the moon.
That's
Yeah.
the one area of the earth that they don't yet have full control over, Andrew.
Saint Nick is fighting hard to maintain.
Saint Nick, after dealing with Pelagius, he had to travel on up to the North
Arius.
Pole. Or Arius. Sorry, not
Arius.
Pelagius.
Goodness gracious.
That was Saint Augustine, which, to be fair, he also fought off the Jews.
You are right there. Yes, Saint Nicholas backhands Arius, and then he says, "I will protect this land from the Jews," and he just went into hiding in the North Pole
with his elves.
That's about as accurate as the Book of Mormon is. Yeah, actually, so I have a really big bookshelf, which is why it's not in here. It's literally bigger than this area. And it's stupidly heavy and made of oak. So I'm never going to move it again until we move. But I have like 12 sections on it, and I keep all of my religious and nonfiction stuff in one section of it, and then all the rest of it is fiction. And I make sure that I keep the Joseph Smith translation, the Book of Mormon, the New World Translation, and the Qurans in my fiction section. So if my kids ever read it, they know that it's not actually true. Yeah.
You know what? Hey. I see the vision.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna come in later and be like, "Wow, how rude of you to claim that these are fictional books, but the Bible's true." Well, that is what we claim. That is what we claim.
That's what the evidence shows. Once put a woman's rights book in the cooking section in a local library. Ah,
Based.
Okay, sorry, I was responding to a message real quick.
Okay. Koine Greek.
I was actually. Yeah, try and tell me that I can't know Koine Greek either. I don't know it. Okay. Anywho, yeah, the Book of Mormon. So of the thousands of people, the fictional Book of Mormon, as Chris enlightened us on, of the thousands of people, places, and events mentioned in the Book of Mormon, not even one of those people, places, or events has been verified by archaeology. And there are lots of Mormon archaeologists that are trying to. Not even one, not a coin, inscription, a tomb, a weapon, a tool, or a city. Nothing. Whole lot of
you know
nothing.
the wrong part about that is there's so many Mormon archaeologists that they have their own division within BYU, if I remember correctly. And a lot of the archaeology stuff I did on the early Jewish stuff, like the Proto-Sinaitic, was all by Mormon or archaeologists working in BYU.
Really?
They are trying to prove their stuff so much that they eventually just kind of like gave up. And then they're actually like helping with the Bible, like the real Bible, and its truthfulness. So that's pretty based.
Well, it's interesting because I think I mentioned him the last stream we did, but you get like Dan McClellan, who studies history and he studies the Bible. And I'm not hyping up Dan McClellan. I think he's wrong on a lot of things. But the fact that he is a Mormon makes no sense. How do you study history and come to the conclusion that the Book of Mormon is true? I don't understand. And I don't just want to. The stream is not meant to just dog on Mormonism. That's not our purpose. But I do find it interesting that someone studies history for a living and studies like theology and is still convinced that Mormonism is the truest version of Christian ideology. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Did you say Mormonism is the truest version of Christian theology?
Christian ideology that they base themselves off of Christian thought, but they are not I don't consider them a Christian sect.
Very good. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that he came to that conclusion that it's the truest form of. Anyways,
well, because even Mormons.
Hey, Jackson chat.
Like back in the day,
he's correct too.
Yeah,
he's a dogmatic militant atheist who claims to be Mormon.
Yeah, I could honestly, I could agree to that more than him being actually Mormon, because some of his liberal approaches to understanding the scriptures are pretty intense. Like, I mean, he flat out denying several like key factors of scripture and saying that nope, just not possible, not right, not true, didn't happen. It's like, okay, man, whatever. I want to see an actual sanctioned Dan McClellan inspiring philosophy debate. I want to see that pretty badly, actually.
Oh man,
I've been hoping for that for a long time.
That would be an actually informative debate. Whereas you get IP and like God Logic against these Muslims, and they're like completely non-substantive conversations.
I usually end up dipping halfway in because I'm like, this is just going nowhere.
It's so true though. Like any one of Junior's debates, it just gets redundant halfway through. You're just like, okay.
Yeah. The most recent Junior and God Logic debate was kind of funny though.
It was funny, but again, it was super redundant.
Yeah. The Triune.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Your Triune.
Triune. Dude.
So fun. But so skeptics. There has been a long and embarrassing history of skeptics claiming the Bible's version of history is false. But then a new discovery demonstrates that the biblical historical account was exactly right, and the skeptics were wrong. So we've got the Hittites. mentioned about 50 times in the Bible. Powerful kingdom existed in Abraham's time, occupied north and western Canaan. Skeptics claim that there was no evidence of this massive and powerful empire had ever been found. They said that this proved that the Bible was a myth. Hold on. Have you guys ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Some
Bits
of
and
it.
pieces.
Okay, I'm not advocating people to go watch it, but there's a scene where one of the characters is trying to defend the Bible to some of the atheists in his like friend group, and he's talking about how oh, they believe in science. He's like, well, did you know science gets things wrong sometimes? And he was talking about like the smartest scientists at the time, and he puts them on a board, and he said everybody thought he was right until, and then he pulls out the future thing that proved them wrong. He goes, making him and everyone around him look like a total and just total B word, total and it was very funny. And doing this slide just made me think about that these historians look like total, I'll say, idiots because they were very wrong. And then I started blasting. Oh yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of very memeable moments from Always Sunny. I've never fully watched the whole show, but every episode I've watched has at least one like clippable moment. Anyways, but yeah, we keep finding better and better evidences that these things are true. Starting in 1876, numerous discoveries of a massive unknown kingdom emerged in northern and western Canaan. They found the Hittite Empire. This is Hattusa, capital city of the Hittites. This is some of the ruins of it. Exactly where the Bible said it was, when it was, and how powerful it was. And this is a map. If you didn't know, it's a map. And this was this was the Hittite Empire right here. And if you can tell, it's significantly larger than the feeble, weak Egyptian Empire at that time. But anywho, the skeptics were wrong. Smack the wrong label on them. They were wrong. All right, then you got Belshazzar, mentioned 8 times in scripture, called King of Babylon, offered Daniel the 3rd position and was slain in the overthrow of Babylon. Skeptics claimed that no evidence of Belshazzar had ever been found. All other records said that Nabonidus, thank you, was the Babylonian king when Babylon fell. They said that this proved that the Bible was a myth. But then, starting in 1854, 4 clay cylinders were excavated in Ur, and they contain a prayer by Nabonidus for his firstborn son. What was his name? This is the Nabonidus cylinder.
Feel free to read it. There's his name right there.
Yeah.
It's like in Night at the Museum. He's like, men with spear, sideways fish.
No, cuneiform's just nonsense, man.
I mean,
it worked.
It did.
Yes.
There's 60 different letters though, so I do not know it at all.
That's
one of the languages that I have no reason to learn a system that has 60 letters to it.
Yeah, no.
Dude. You know what you need to learn though? You need to learn poneglyphs so we can go find the One Piece.
We need you to be able to translate the stones.
Yeah, the road poneglyphs, Chris. We must hit the seas, Christopher.
We need our archaeologists.
That's close enough.
That's essentially the same thing.
Yes, but was
yes,
it written by Goldie Roger?
the cylinder, anyways. This is real. This is not AI. Just have to put that out there because sure, someone's gonna say something. This is real discovery. Belshazzar was the name of his firstborn son, and it gets even better. Another discovery, the Nabonidus Chronicle, revealed that before Nabonidus left Babylon, he entrusted the kingship to his firstborn Belshazzar. Crazy. And Nabonidus had been defeated 2 days before Babylon fell, meaning that Belshazzar was the king of Babylon the night it fell. So take that.
That's actually kind of
Yeah,
insane
rewind it back.
knowledge too, because it's like, how did the Bible know that?
It's truly
The guy
elite
was
ball
only
knowledge.
king for 2 days, and then it fell. So that means the Bible has like either perfect knowledge of the situation, or someone who was there, who knew exactly what happened, was involved in writing it.
And it could, yeah. It could have totally said that Nabonidus was king, and then we would have found this and been like, well, he
and then
wasn't.
the Bible's false. Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
Bible
somebody would have been
false.
like, well, technically speaking,
Yeah,
actually Belshazzar was king.
exactly.
Okay, well,
Exactly, because no, to be fair, like this would have totally been used if the Bible said
would have been.
Nabonidus was king,
Mhm.
then secular scholars would have been like, look, it was actually Belshazzar,
Mhm.
and they would have been like, oh no.
yeah. And this is what
Would've
we're
been
talking
wrong.
about. When I say that the Bible is exhaustive in its scrutinizable details, this is what we're talking about. That it gets things very accurate. That the writers, and this is also part of why we argue that the writers of the Bible did not come significantly later than the texts imply.
Yep.
Because the knowledge is so specific to the time period it would have been written in, to claim that the author of that text had to come, decades to centuries later is just not accurate. This is good evidence to prove that the writer was within the time period of the event itself.
You mean to tell me that Daniel, the book in which it talks about Belshazzar, wasn't written hundreds of years later?
No.
Like some would suggest?
We're gonna get there. Don't worry. When we get to
No.
prophecy, we'll get there. We'll get to that argument that because the prophecy is so specific, it had to have been written later.
Yeah, I know. It's really funny to me. They're
They
like,
say
"What
the same about the temple being destroyed, and
can't be true."
yeah.
Yeah.
What, Isaiah? No. Can't no.
Yeah.
You believe that?
Skeptics claimed Pontius Pilate. We actually talked about this before you got here, Jack, that yes, the skeptics claim Pilate didn't even exist. And all the while, there was a lot of Roman coins minted by Pilate all over the place in the area. Silly skeptics.
Mhm.
Didn't even look. I really wish I could play that clip from Always Sunny. I wish I knew like a version of it that took bleeped out the bad words. But we are a family-friendly program, so I'm not going to play that on here. But it's so funny.
Just gotta make it yourself.
About Always Funny or Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Always funny.
It's
always funny in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
You say Philadelphia? That's good.
Yes.
Guys, it somehow gets even better. Then Belshazzar gave the command, a proclamation concerning Daniel, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Why did they make him the third ruler? Because it would have been Nabonidus, Belshazzar, Daniel. Also, hello, Kevin's Biblical Discussions. Go check him out if you are watching. Pretty based. Anyways, because it would have been, like I said, Nabonidus, Belshazzar, Daniel. This makes sense if Nabonidus came first, right?
Yeah, because the Bible could have said, and Belshazzar offered Daniel second place in the kingdom.
Right.
And it would have been wrong.
Right. No, it makes everything make way more sense that this is how it all went down. again, this is how painstakingly the Bible treats these events, that they can be put to scrutiny and come out on top.
Right.
All right.
And we also have to remember, like, whenever we're speaking about the Bible, it was, it was penned by the God of the entire universe. So, like, some people, I feel like whenever we talk about this, you say, well, the Bible got this right or the Bible got this wrong. It would be more fitting to say that the Lord got this right or the Lord got this wrong, because, like, it was written by, it was inspired by the Holy Spirit. So it's not as though some abstract literary work that was floating in the ether, right?
Right.
The actual God of the universe inspired these things. So it's not like we're just talking about a book.
Yeah. And even from the skeptical perspective, like if you're trying to, I don't know, if you're trying to argue against the scriptures and you don't believe that God inspired the scriptures, you at least have to acknowledge that this is unbelievably accurate. All right. And then moving forward, the skeptics were wrong again.
Mm.
You see the pattern?
Yeah, skeptics are wrong.
Yeah. Don't be skeptical. If you're skeptical, you'll be wrong.
Yeah, dude. Don't ever be a skeptic. Drink the
Yeah.
Kool-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
What? Who said that?
Nebo Sarsacum.
Yeah, Nebo Sarsacum.
Yeah, that's a name. Mentioned in Jeremiah 39:3. Oh, Chris
He brought the tomes.
He brought presentations.
I brought my.
Don't lie, dude. Those are just the Minecraft books.
Oh, I have the same
My
one.
Book of Mormon.
Hold on. Where is it?
Yeah,
it's like
do you have the
default.
Redstone book in there too?
It's like the default Book of Mormon.
Is the default Book of Mormon, yes. So, this is a good book. I'd recommend it. Where God came down. Pretty good.
Mm.
The best part about this is by Joel Kramer. He runs Expedition Bible. The best part about all archaeology books is they're all picture books.
Well, they gotta be, Chris.
I know it's awesome though. So if you ever want to show like kids stuff, it's pretty cool.
I love the pictures, but
it's all just picture books. So I have that, and I also have
my copy of the Book of Mormon.
Several books on ancient Near East literature and archaeology and writings in Egypt. So you have, all of these books, and you can get them pretty cheap. So, but it's nice, no matter what picture book you have, or picture book, no matter what archaeology book you have.
Let me
picture books. So this is Egypt, gods, myth, and religion. And it goes through all the different gods, the different time periods, and you can just go through them and talk about it. So
I've got I actually technically stole this from my church. Technically speaking, God. Somebody brought this into our church, and while I was still working there, and I was out walking around one day, and I saw it, and I was like, "Huh, I want that." And it was just laying on a table in the church. And then the next day, it was still just laying on that table. And then it got moved to the lost and found. And then I put a claim on it and said, if no one gets this, it is mine. And I was told, as long as I just keep it in my office, it's fine. Well, then I don't work there anymore. I brought it home, but I just think this is cool. And it also has a bunch of fun pictures. Anyways,
Jack, you're funny.
Mormons visited my house one time. I talked to them at least an hour. We had a great talk. They didn't have literature nor have any others return.
Yeah, they tend to blacklist people who are unwilling to
Mhm.
cave.
Unwilling to see the light.
Yeah. You
Um,
stiff-necked man.
Actually, okay, while we're off topic, hold on. I actually have something I've been meaning to show Chris because I don't even know what this is, but I know he'll probably know what it is. I was given this by someone I used to work with back in the day when I was flipping the Lord's chicken at Chick-fil-A, and he knew I was really involved in like religious stuff, and he just kind of gave this to me because he was like, I don't have a reason for having it anymore. Hold on. Okay, I have this Encyclopedia of the Taryag Mitzvoth, Volume 1. Yeah, 1 through 24. I don't even know what this is, but I have it. And it's really cool.
You know what it is, though, Chris.
It should be all the different ways you can do commentary on the law.
Oh.
So it's like a
So it's going to be
midrash.
pretty much. It's going to be both the halakha of the rabbis and
Oh, okay.
the law, I would assume. But they would likely read that within their yearly reading of the Torah.
Yeah, a comprehensive, in-depth presentation of the 613 mitzvot featuring essential principles, laws, and inspirational insights.
Yeah. So the 613
You
is
could have
supposed
just
to be
read
law.
the inside cover, Andrew.
You're so right. I didn't even try. I didn't. I thought it looked so cool, and I didn't even try to figure out what it was.
That is awesome. I wonder how much that would be to buy now.
Dude, it's probably really expensive. Everybody's freaking out right now. So
Yeah, this is
Dude.
like
gas
the coolest-
is so expensive right now. What the heck?
also
That
just
is
like
such an
the detail.
awesome looking book, dude.
It's got like the scroll.
Dude, Jewish books are awesome. I was
They
looking
are
to
pretty
buy
cool.
me a Torah scroll, and it was like $3,000.
Dang.
And I was like, ooh, I could get a paper one for 80. I might do
A
that.
codicy.
Yeah, so for my birthday, I'm gonna buy myself a Torah scroll and just read it. And like that's how I'm gonna practice my Hebrew is just reading through the Torah with a
$3
big
grand?
scroll.
It's pretty
Just
based.
reading it. Yeah.
You're gonna spend $3 grand on it?
No, $80 on the paper version. I'm not gonna buy
Oh, the
parchment.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
Well,
no,
you
no.
didn't specify
Although
that
I
earlier. You just
have
said
held-
scroll.
I have held a 1,000-year-old parchment Torah scroll in my hand, and it was fuzzy and still had the goat skin on it. Well, I mean, it is goat skin, but
Wow.
like you could feel the peach fuzz on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty based.
I think we should just start a GoFundMe for Chris to get this $3,000 scroll. Because I'm sure if we all came together, we could make this happen. Chris, you've got
You just gotta believe.
Right.
Please
So
do a video.
This is in my Talmudic Dilemma series. To do. It'll eventually get there. Goat fund me.
GoFundMe. That's great. All right.
Yes.
Let's get
Low LeBron did.
Daddy
fund me.
Hikmah. I absolutely will make that video. That is in the to-do list. And
Yeah, Chris, get on it.
I'm currently going through the prophets right now. But after the prophets, I'll go through some more of the random stuff, and that's going to be one of the first ones.
All right. Let's get back on track because we're an hour in. We haven't even made it anywhere near done on the archaeology side. Oh man. All right. I put Q&A at the end of this video. I don't think that's going to happen. All right. So, Nebo Sarsakim, mentioned in Jeremiah 39:3, called a general of Babylon's army, present at the fall of Jerusalem in 587 BC. In 2007, a tiny Babylonian financial record was discovered, and it documents the payment of 0.75 kilograms of gold to the temple in Babylon by Nebo Sarsakim. Now, guys, I just gotta be honest. I don't think that was a super common name, but I really don't know that much about Babylonian names, so I could be wrong. But I think the odds are pretty low that was somebody else. The clay document is dated in the 10th year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, which is 595 BC, a few years before he helped to defeat Jerusalem in 587 BC, as Jeremiah had said. Crazy.
I don't know about the second half of his name, but the first half basically just means prophet.
Oh.
So the first half would be super common. It would just be the last half that would be.
It's like
perhaps more.
It's like after the split of the East and the West in 1054, how you see the Roman Church begin to create orders of monks that also are warriors, and they fight battles. This is the prototype. Was Nebo. He was a warrior prophet. He was a soldier prophet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right.
I think also one of the gods was called Nebo, but
that's an area I don't have a whole lot of like knowledge on. I'm actually, I think I have some books on my Kindle right now that I'm going to be reading on Babylonian culture, because I just don't know enough.
Most of what I know about is just because of the Jewish stuff.
Right.
Not
that makes
because
sense.
I've actually studied them as much. They're interesting. They're a super interesting group.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
very racist. So reading their
Yeah.
racism is kind of funny at times. I went over that on Monday, but they believed that all the northern people, like the Persians, were all like forced to have incest with their mothers, daughters, and sisters in order to become magi.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
interesting belief system. It's
And then the Persians came in and wiped him out. Very funny. Anyways, so in 1879 we found the Cyrus cylinder. This records the overthrow of Babylon by Cyrus and his release of the Jewish captives. In 1974, we found the Ibla tablets, and skeptics once said that Sodom and Gomorrah were just fairy tales, a myth. Since 1974, over 17,000 tablets have been unearthed in Ibla, Syria. One of these tablets actually lists the 5 cities of the plain in Genesis 14:2 in the exact same order as the Bible: Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Zoar. And then, thank you, Daddy Hikmah. Thank you. The seal of Gomira, in the chamber of Gomira, the son of Shaphan in the scribe, Jeremiah 36:10, approximately 600 BC. In 1982, a clay bulla was discovered bearing the name Gomira, son of Shaphan, and the seal of the scribe dates around 600 BC. Pontius Pilate, which we've talked about several times here, the first archaeological discovery bearing the name Pontius Pilate as governor of Judea in the time of Jesus. That was found in 1961. We've got Roman historian Tacitus, this is in 116 AD. Nero fastened the guilt on a class hated for their abominations called Christians. Christus, from whom the name had its origin, suffered the extreme penalty at the hands of Pontius Pilate, and a most mischievous superstition again broke out, not only in Judea, the first source of the evil, but even in Rome. I really wish Hugh was still here, because I also told him that Palestine was not Palestine at the time that he claimed that the apostles were Palestinians. I said that it was Judea and that it wasn't Palestine until about 150. And it wasn't even Palestine then, it was Syria, Palestina. And he argued that no, it comes from the Greek. And I said, no, that's Philistia. But thank you, Usama, for that information. And notice we've got in Tacitus's excerpt here, who, a what, a when, a how, a why, or sorry, not a how, a where, why.
Skeptical critics
Oh.
love to try.
Oh,
How we feeling right now? Should we
let's testify.
should we play it? Do we think I'm going to get banned? Do we think the ban hammer is going to come down?
I don't think
Yeah.
testify would do anything. It'd be if YouTube automatically did it.
It is
How long is the
5.
video?
It's almost 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we could probably skip it.
Yeah, we'll probably skip it.
Yeah. Sorry, testify.
I do have a way to DM him if he were to claim this.
Well,
That'd be pretty funny.
probably is a good. Well, we're already past it. All right. Anyways, the Bible has been right about the past every single time. But what about the future? All right, we're going to transition into the second half, fulfilled prophecy. So a quick reminder: 25% of the Bible is prophetic. So out of 4 verses is speaking about people, places, and events that had not happened yet. 8,000 verses out of 32,000 verses. Pretty
Which is
insane.
more than the Quran.
Yeah.
Total.
I mean, yeah, there's more prophecy in the Bible than there is verses in the Quran. The Quran is what is it?
6 grand.
6,000? Yeah.
6,236, I believe.
Yeah. And then the Bible goes into great detail about people, kingdoms, events, things, and technology. So you've got kings, prophets, Messiah. You've got wars, disaster, temple destruction, treaties, crucifixion, mark of the beast, computers. There's the concept for these things is all in the scriptures. There's a lot of evidences that can be pointed to.
You can even throw nukes in there potentially.
I mean, possibly. I mean, some of the stuff that is talked about, like it absolutely does sound like that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the greatest topic in the scripture? Jesus. Amen.
You had the King James version. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. The based
Jesus
King James version.
Jesus
right
only
here.
rests on the King James, as you
The
can see.
King James is the foundation of all belief in Jesus.
That's what it is. Giant print. Just so we know what it said.
Just so we know. The Old Testament contains over 200 prophecies about the first coming of the Messiah, including the place of his birth, Bethlehem, the manner of his birth, the virgin, manner of his death by crucifixion. These are things that I point to a lot when trying to prove Jesus is coming. I know that we've got the virgin birth in Isaiah 7:11. Is that right? 7:14.
Of the virgin birth?
I know it's
7.
I know it's in chapter 7. I just can't remember if it's verse 11 or verse 14. Anyways, go read it. Chapter 7. And we've got the manner of his death is pointed to a few times, but you've got Zechariah 14 talking about they will look upon me whom they have pierced. Oh, is that Zechariah 12? I don't know. Whatever. And then you got the place of his birth. That's in is it Malachi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got like very explicit passages, and the crucifixion. There's several about the crucifixion. You got Psalm 22 as well. But no matter what the Jews try to tell you, Psalm 22 about a crucifixion, and Isaiah 53. It's about Jesus.
Zechariah 12.
Don't.
It's about his atonement.
Yeah, don't listen to him. I'm trying to tell you it's about Israel. Get out of here.
The atheist.
Anyways, yeah.
If you're curious, I made a stupidly long video going over every single Jewish claim about it.
Ooh, go look into that. I will probably look into that as well, because I am interested in that. So yeah, the exact day of his coming. I actually tried to use this with one of the atheists that was arguing in the YouTube comment section. I wish he was here too. I tried using this. Actually, I don't think it was an atheist. I think he may have been Jewish. But I said, do you agree that Daniel, it's Daniel 7, right? That's talking about the coming of the day of the Lord. That it gets
Daniel
to the
9 is coming of the day of the Lord. Daniel 7 is the Son of Man.
okay, yeah, thank you. Daniel 9. I asked him if Daniel 9 is about the Messiah, and he like completely dodged it, and then acted like he didn't dodge it, and that made me mad, and so I just kind of gave up. And then the character of his ministry, betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Oh, I just read that. Is that in Micah?
I mean, that's in. Yes, it's also
I
in.
think.
There's an allusion to it in Genesis.
Is it with Joseph?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got rejected by Jewish leaders, and buried in a rich man's tomb. The 30 pieces of silver actually might also be Zechariah.
Zechariah 11.
Yep. There you go. But yes, all these things are prophesied in the Old Testament and came to their fruition through Jesus. Of these 200 prophecies, 69 of them are verifiable historically and quantifiable mathematically. The combined probability that the Lord Jesus Christ fulfilled all 69 of these major prophecies by chance is estimated to be one chance in I'm going to say this wrong. It's been a long time. I don't want to sound really stupid, but this is
5.32 to the 10 to the 72nd.
yeah. That's what I was going to say. I just wanted to be sure. I haven't had to say anything about math in a long time. I didn't want to say something that sounded dumb.
Yeah.
But
If I remember correctly,
by not saying anything.
there's like 2 to 10 to the 89th atoms in the universe estimated.
72 years.
So that's it's only a couple billion orders of magnitude off of the number of atoms in the universe. So just picking one at random.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
Hey, Chris, you should never trust an atom. They make up everything.
I thought you were going to make an atom pun. Like, he caused the downfall of humanity.
No.
It would be more likely that you would win the Powerball lottery a lot of times in a row.
Which Powerball, though? Missouri's?
It's dodecillion.
I don't
175
know.
dodecillion times you'll win the Powerball lottery.
I'm going to assume the national Powerball.
Okay.
Or maybe Missouri. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. Then for Jesus to have fulfilled all 69 specific prophecies.
So there were 60.
Hold on. This video is actually in a different part of the presentation. I think this is
actually undecillion. Sorry. Not dodecillion. I was off by one.
This is a shorter video. Surely they would not get us in trouble for playing this, because I do think this is an interesting video.
9 of these specific prophecies.
We're gonna run it.
When I got done,
who knows?
The number I came up with was 5.32 times 10 to the 72nd power. That's 72 zeros behind it. That Christ would fulfill all 69 of those prophecies by chance.
This is the guy you guys were like, "Oh, is that Frank Turek?" He does kind of look like Frank Turek.
That's Warren Henderson, isn't it?
I think so. Yes. And I think this is the video we tried to play before, but the audio wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
So now it's in this again. So we're going to play it this time.
Now, if you've read Josh McDowell's book, Evidence Demands a Verdict, he did a very similar analysis. His number comes up to 10 to the 70th. All right, so I'm in the ballpark with what he came up with. Now, if you say I got 10 to the 72nd power of dollar bills in my back pocket, that's kind of a hard thing to relate to, right? How many dollar bills is that? How big is that number? If this room here, we could bring in a bunch of sand and make it a big sandbox, and I had Brandon take 1 grain of sand, color it green, and hide it anywhere in this room. And then, let's see, I had Eric blindfolded him, and then he goes around through the room and picks out 1 grain of sand. What's the probability that he's going to pick out Brandon's green grain of sand? Not likely, right? What if the sandbox was the size of the state of Missouri? And I said, Brandon, you can go anywhere. You can go to Kansas City. You can go to St. Louis. You can go to Branson. Hide your green grain of sand anywhere. And then we blindfold Eric and we let him walk around for days. He gets to pick 1 grain of sand wherever he wants. What's the probability that he's going to pick up that 1 grain of sand? It's not going to happen, is it? All right, so let me put the numbers in play for you, how big this is. Now, the big bangers say that the universe is about 20 billion light years across and has a mass of about 10 to the 60 kilograms, okay? So if I could take the entire universe, 20 billion light years across, and convert all the matter in the universe, except for Brandon and Eric and their spaceship, convert it to grains of sand. By the way, a grain of sand has a mass of about 10 to the minus 5 kilograms. And then I tell Brandon, you get in a spaceship, you go anywhere in the universe 20 billion light years across, and you plant your grain of sand anywhere. And then we give Eric a spaceship, we blindfold him so he doesn't know where he's going, and he flies around for whatever long period of time he wants. And then finally he says, yep, this is the place. He reaches out, gets a grain of sand. What's the likelihood it's going to be Brandon's green grain of sand? You are 150 million times more likely to get that green grain of sand than Christ fulfilling all 69 prophecies by chance. That's how phenomenal that is.
Yeah, actually insane. And the Bible perfectly outlines the rise and fall of every major world power. So we've got in the book of Daniel, we've got Nebuchadnezzar's dream, a highly detailed and perfectly accurate prophecy about all future world superpowers. And so you've got the head of gold, which would be Babylon. So it'd run from 605 BC to 539 BC. And then you've got Medo-Persia, and this would run from 539 BC to 331 BC. This is the breasts and arms of silver. And then you've got the belly and thighs of brass. That's Greece. That would be 331 BC to 168 BC. Then you've got the legs of iron, Rome, 168 BC to 476 AD. And then you've got the feet of iron and clay, the final world empire under the Antichrist, which, and this I would argue, there's a lot of interpretations for what the feet of clay are. Because there's also the idea of the broken kingdom, with the feet of clay, because the clay is speckled with iron, and that it signifies how, which is actually very interesting when you think about it. So Rome, and I only really know this just because I've been reading so much about Rome lately, in history. So in 476, Rome gets conquered by the Latins, and Rome, the western half of Rome, I should say, breaks, and it becomes multiple states, essentially. They're still technically the Western Roman group, but they break, and they're not really unified. And so really, Rome's presence it starts to decline after the Latins take over a little bit, and the Byzantines get a lot more power. And then eventually the Byzantines also fall. That comes well later. So it's interesting that after 476 AD, you get the splintering of Rome, and then you never see another unified world power quite like Rome in its expansion, in its power and its ability to try and like take over the world. Right now, there's a huge argument online by Muslim apologists where they try to say that the feet of iron and clay is the Muslim empire.
Which would suck for them.
Yeah, because it gets destroyed. Because the rock not made by human hands comes and smashes it and destroys it. Which is pretty funny that they're trying to argue that that's the Muslim kingdom.
Right. Well, so the reason why I find it difficult to take the latter interpretation is because of the rock that comes and destroys it. Because it's like, well, what rock came and destroyed the splintered the Roman Empire? You know what I'm saying? But as we all know, the Antichrist kingdom begins in a few weeks. So we had better start our sacrifices and offerings and preparations.
I don't know what you're talking about, actually. Do you mean like it's always a few weeks away?
Oh no, you ever heard of gaslighting, Andrew?
Oh, yes. Excellent. I just didn't know there was something actually going on that you were like, hey, it's about to happen. You want to place your bets right now.
I mean, yes, I have secret knowledge.
Oh, I knew it. It's also funny when Muslims try to argue this because it actually does. I mean, if they want to talk about and call out their own history, if you want to say about how their empire only lasted unified like less than 100 years of actual unified power,
way less than 100 years
before they splintered into like states and tribalism and just like ate each other alive until the Turks come in and take over and the Ottomans unify again what had been broken. But that still would go against this concept in the first place, because that would be a splintering, a regathering, and then a future defeat. But then it's you have to try and really like squint your eye at it and like, no, maybe that could be it. Like, no.
So they're saying Daniel is the Torah.
No, Daniel's the Injil.
Oh, right.
But yeah, very, very, very accurate.
It's got to be because it talks about the Son of Man.
Mm-hmm. But Daniel lived in 600 BC, right? So he was alive in the Babylonian times, and he was bringing up things that he would have no possible way of knowing without some type of divine inspiration. And the precise and detailed prophecies contained in the book of Daniel are so astounding that skeptics have tried to prove that it was written over 700 years after the life of Daniel. But the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 has demonstrated that the book of Daniel dates from several centuries before Christ. Daniel's prophecies are among the most copied scriptures in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, but it gets better. Not only did Daniel precisely outline the rise and fall of every major world power, Daniel also prophesied of the exact day that the Messiah would offer himself to Israel. So in Daniel 9, 24, 26, the Lord reveals that there will be 483 years between two events, the decree to rebuild Jerusalem and the coming of the Messiah. And so the decree to rebuild Jerusalem was fulfilled March 14th, 445 BC by Persian king Artaxerxes. And the coming of the Messiah was fulfilled April 6th, 32 AD. Sorry, I just had a huge brain fart, and I don't know why, because I know it's March, but there was something about April 6th that I was like, wait a minute, but it's not important. April 6th, 32 AD, triumphal entry into Jerusalem. The Lord said 483 years between these two events, exactly 483 years. Times 360 days on the Jewish year, right? So not our calendar exactly, would be 173,880 days. So from the decree until the coming of the Messiah, is exactly 173,880 days. Pretty crazy.
Light work.
Light work, no reaction.
I would be careful to mention that there is different ways you can argue this. So it definitely gave a window in which the Messiah would come before 70 AD. That's undeniable. And it's after the time of the Maccabees. The Maccabees are not the fulfillment of Daniel. So between Maccabees and the destruction of the temple, the Messiah was supposed to come. There's also other dating of Jesus's death being 30 AD and 33 AD. I think 30 AD is the most likely because of Jonah, and Jesus explicitly says the sign of Jonah will be what's for you. And in Jonah 3, he talks about how he traveled for 3.5 days, and then he said 40 days, the city will be destroyed. Jesus preached for 3.5 years, and then 40 years later, the temple was destroyed. So that would put the timeline at 30 AD, and we have pretty good evidence that he was born in 4/5 BC, likely like October 1st to October 13th, 4 BC. So that would still put this a little bit earlier. So you could just say, oh, well, there's just like an accounting error in the time that actually happened and whatnot. But it's still insanely impressive that it is within a couple years, or it's literally to the day, depending on how you count everything and what calendar's conversion you use and all that stuff. And if you actually trust the full BC schedule, because there are some missing years within the BC era. But either way, it's like insane.
Yeah.
I would not specifically claim to the day of April 6th, 32, but you could give like a range of it's accurate to such a degree that it's insane. And like Jesus was alive during this time and going and preaching and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Jack does bring up a point. There should be probably a slight correction to the slides about all major world powers leading to Christ. Because I will say, post that, there are obviously other world powers, to say every world power. But
Was there ever a world power like Rome, though, after Rome?
After Rome?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
that had the long, like the run of Rome, like, because I mean, Rome
Yeah.
Well,
was
like that were like
run-
those other world powers. And one of the other things that I think that the Lord took into account was that those world powers controlled Jerusalem.
I could see that.
So no other world power in that same way that had the
Britain?
same. They never controlled Jerusalem, did they?
Mhm.
Yeah,
They're the ones that did the Palestinian
Oh,
mandate
well,
that
yeah,
created
for
Israel.
after World War II, but that was so. Let me try to think.
Britain was
Yeah.
more powerful.
Britain
to
was
be
more powerful
specific.
than Rome.
America is significantly more powerful now,
Yeah,
even though
no,
we're not an empire.
The only thing I can think of is that Rome has the longest continual run. I think, as far as I could be wrong about that, but they have
I think Ottomans are longer.
Longer than 600 years.
I think so. Because they were established in the 1200s or 1300s, and they fell in the 1900s.
Well, I guess it also depends on when
So
you
it'd be right
count
about the
as.
same time.
I guess it depends on what you count as Rome. Because you can also
And when
make the
it
argument
fell.
that Rome never technically fell.
It never
Right.
actually
Yeah.
died.
You
It
could make
just
the argument that Rome
changed.
is still actively a
Right.
superpower.
That's fair. Yeah.
You've got doesn't the Vatican have a bank? Don't they have their own they have their own bank?
Dude, Vatican is
And they
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything too crazy, but I think you could argue that they just converted to the Holy Roman Empire and that they became.
Oh, they for sure did. There's literally no debate about that.
And if you want to say that, then yes, Rome essentially never
Just continued
really
on
fell.
forever.
How
And
what if
Yeah.
what if Britain is the iron and What if Britain is the iron and clay? Bet you hadn't thought of that before. I'm just
I
kidding.
mean,
I'm just kidding.
I know. I'm just saying,
I
like,
don't- that's not. I don't think that's a
Oh.
valid interpretation.
Chase is telling everyone right now the Antichrist is coming out of Britain. So
Out
just
of
everyone, just
Britain.
so everyone is aware.
Keir Starmer.
The least liked person in the world is supposed to be the Antichrist. Who's like the most likable dude you can imagine.
But that is a fair critique. It's good. It's something for us to think over for the slides. But
Yeah.
you could. I was saying, like, you could do it. All the powerful empires that led up to Christ, because that's, and then Christ being the rock not made from human hands. But anywho, oh, that is very funny.
Out of Landinistan.
Londonstein.
Oh, London.
That's
Never
basically
mind.
what it's become at this point.
Yes.
Me and Tommy were talking about that earlier.
The
All right.
Caliphate. The British Caliphate.
The Caliphate will re-establish itself in Britain. Oh my gosh. How the turntables. All right. So then as he was drawing near, they began to rejoice, saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." And some of the Pharisees called to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." But he said to them, "I tell you that if these should keep silent, the stones would immediately cry out." Luke 19:37-44 for the triumphal entry. And now as he drew near, he saw Jerusalem and wept over it, saying, if you had known, even you, especially in this your day, the things that make for your peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. For your enemies will close you in and level you, because you did not know the time of your visitation. So this is like incredibly powerful in the passage to know that. I think when I read this, before I even read the New Testament or the Old Testament, because I read the New Testament first when I was like really studying the Bible, it caught my attention that Jesus is calling them out for not knowing when he would come. And that would suppose that there is evidence in the scriptures that they had and they were studying that gives the time that he would come. And obviously we've gone over that there is, and that they were not prepared. This is your day, did not know the time. The Jews who rejected Jesus were inexcusable. The day that Jesus offered himself as king, that very day, the time of their visitation was exactly, or like Chris said, it could be slightly, but since the decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, there wouldn't have been nearly enough of a gap to be concerned about the specifics.
Right.
Regardless, they should have been believing and thinking this is the time that the Messiah should be coming.
No,
and to be
it's
fair,
in the PowerPoint. It's true. It's got to be. It's in the PowerPoint. So, Chris, unfortunately, we must say, you are now an officially declared heretic, and you may never come back on the stream again. So, thank you.
Well, Jack actually did say what I was about to bring up. There were many who were expecting the Messiah. The problem is what they were expecting. There was the idea that the Messiah was going to be there, because they did have an idea that the Messiah was coming. And obviously there were people there who were cheering him into Jerusalem. So there were people who at least assumed that he was the Messiah. The problem was what they were expecting and who they were expecting was not correct.
So Jack did say that it seemed more like grassroots than Sanhedrin level. I would push back on that. Right after Jesus got baptized, the Pharisees immediately run up to him and is like, "Are you the Messiah? Are you the one who's to come? Who are you? Are you the prophet?" So even the leaders of Sanhedrin were expecting the Messiah. They just didn't like him when they got him.
And I read a book by Scott Hahn, Catholic, I know, but he talked about how Oh, I'm sorry. No, Scott Hahn did the preface. It was Brent Petrie, a different Catholic. But he was talking about the idea that there's also a good amount of evidence that the expectation for the Messiah was that he was going to be like Moses, and that he was going to lead them essentially into another Exodus, out of Rome, and that they'd find another land, a new promised land. And I would argue he was another Moses, and he did lead an Exodus into a different promised land, but it was not physical. It was spiritual. There was a spiritual Exodus that led to the promised land of the kingdom. And they were not looking for that. They were not looking for a spiritual salvation, because they didn't understand the issue of their sins, and that their sins needed to be forgiven. But
Yeah, that was
yes.
actually unfortunately that was Muhammad. So Muhammad came, he was just like Moses, and he led them into a different promised land. It was called Mecca. From Medina, he actually took them and he gave them like guns and stuff, and he like shot up Medina and then Mecca, and then they
He shot up Mecca. He took Mecca by the gun.
by the
Semi-accurate.
He gave them AK-47s.
Why? Where do you think the modern day design came from? It's based on the
scimitar.
631 AD version.
Okay.
That one was made of wood, though. Like all of it was made of wood. Muhammad led people to a promised land.
Yeah, pretty based. So
I'm sorry, that got me.
So the Jews claim that they are still waiting for the Messiah. You know what's interesting is how much of the early understanding of Christianity you don't really get. There definitely were Jews that understood they missed the boat and just converted to Christianity. And that the first, you don't, so a different book that I was reading talks about how there absolutely was a understanding of the multi-personhood of God in the Old Testament, and that you do not get the revisionist history of no understanding of a multi hypostasis God until the rabbis start to reinvent themselves in like the 500s and into the 600s. You get with the actual like pen to paper Talmud, you get a lot of basically overcorrection to try and distance themselves from Christianity. And they go really hardcore on God is one. They also like specify that God has no physical body, that he cannot have a physical body, which is funny because of how many times he seems to do physical body things in the Old Testament, which we have an answer for that because we can say that that is the word of God, the logos, whatever. Like that's Jesus. I mean, that's the physical representation of God. We can say that. What answer do you have for how God walked with Adam and Eve if God doesn't have a body?
Spiritual, Andrew. It's spiritual.
You're right. My bad. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, yes. Also, that the fact that like all the first Christians were Jews. It's just fact. This was, you could argue early Christianity is just a Jewish sect in the beginning and then becomes its own thing over time, as it branched out to the Gentiles.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but according to their own scriptures, the window of time for the Messiah, it's already passed.
Mm-hmm.
This is I know Chase's dad, used this exact argument with a Jew he met at an airport. He argued about the passage in Daniel, and he said, when is the Messiah coming? Because it looks like he's 1,985 years late. So this is a time that the Messiah had to arrive, because this is what the scriptures laid
Chris,
out.
in April of 32 AD. What do you not understand?
It's what the
That the
PowerPoint
calendars don't work?
says.
It's what the PowerPoint says.
Has to be
Did you
true.
account for the fact that there's no year 0?
You definitely didn't. I know that for a fact. It's because
How
we
dare
did,
you.
though. I have no idea. I'll have to ask
Yeah.
Dad. Dad is the one who made this.
So also, going back a little bit, you don't just have the timeline to say that he had to come before the temple. You also have Malachi 3, which says that the Messiah is going to come to the temple.
Right.
Mm.
I
So-
just read that today. I was finishing Malachi today, and he literally says he will be coming to the temple. He will visit his
Yep.
people. So once again, you've got the Sadducees, who were Torah only observers. But Jesus even makes a case using the Torah only. But for the Pharisees, you have almost no excuse to not understand that Jesus gives them every understanding. Like you knew what was happening. You knew the time of the coming. And you knew that God was going to visit the temple. And then again, now, something I think you could take to someone who is like an Orthodox Jew or a rabbinic Jew, is to just straight up ask, like, if God has no physical body or physical properties, in what manner was he going to visit the temple? Because even then,
Yeah.
if you made it spiritual, I mean, you could even still argue that's the Holy Spirit, but that's still the Holy Spirit manifests in ways in the Old Testament that would still seem to imply his own person. So anywho,
well, Isaiah says, "Do not grieve the Holy Spirit." So the Holy Spirit has emotions,
right?
which is pretty based. You also have the Yahweh entering in through the east gate as well.
Mm.
So, like, what do you do with that?
Yeah,
There's a lot of things like that. Yahweh physically is supposed to come to the temple or come to Jerusalem in a bunch of places in the prophets. And
what
he
about
did.
when
We know
Yahweh
he-
visits Abraham?
And eats food. And then there's rabbis who say that God got food stuck in his beard while eating with Abraham.
It's like
But he
Abraham,
doesn't
you
have
want
a
this?
physical body.
Well, that was actually a way later, The early rabbis were partially Christian, like basically Christian.
Okay.
They all had very similar belief systems. They believed in a divine Messiah who was going to restore sin, that the name of the Messiah was eternal, that the light of the Messiah dwelled under the throne of God from eternity before creation. So you have, like, the early rabbis were very, very Christian, like, adjacent. So much so to the point where, like, some later Jews are like, "Hey, Christians altered their text," which, to be fair, did happen in history.
Yeah.
But it likely didn't happen to those passages. When did Rabbinic Judaism start? About 50 BC or so.
Sinai.
Sinai.
So it started with the Pharisees, and then it just continued onward after the Pharisees took reign, which is also why all the stuff that the Sadducees believe is cursed with hellfire
Yep.
in the Talmud,
Mm-hmm.
such as, like, denying the resurrection. So any form of Hellenistic influence, the Sinai Bible, yeah, the rabbis just became, or the Pharisees became rabbis, and the Pharisees came about after the Maccabean revolt. So around 100 to 50 BC, and it's also right around the time that the Targums that we use to prove Jesus of both Targon Hanathan and of Targon Onkelos. Those are from that time period. So that's what have been circulating in the synagogues what they're preaching in. It was either the Greek, the Hebrew, or the Aramaic. All three points to Jesus. Doesn't matter which one you choose.
Well, you just don't know, Chris, okay, that actually with Moses, he only got, he received the physical Torah, but then he told his 70 disciples that there was the oral Torah that the angels actually teach and they recite, and that was given to the 70 who kept it going all the way through to the modern day. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've all read about the Sanhedrin in Kings and
In the
Chronicles.
Sanhedrin and Kings, yeah.
Yeah, because all the kings, they like David. Obviously, he made an error not because he murdered Uriah and possibly raped Bathsheba, but because he didn't address the Sanhedrin before he did it.
Mhm.
That was his error. Yeah,
Of course.
according to the Talmud.
Torah.
Torah Receptus.
It always stuck with me. I was like, yeah, it's the Lord didn't want it written down at Sinai. That would have been too much. And we had to write it down several hundred years later.
Well, yeah, you need some way to prove you're a Jew. So it's like the
Right.
secret Jew handshake.
They
Yeah.
actually have that. I don't know
They
it, though.
dab each other up by following the oral law. That's the only way.
And it's funny
That's actually
too.
part of the claim. Ironically, not even joking that much.
It's
That is
funny
what they
too
claim.
how Gnostic rabbinic thought was at that time, because and which also goes to show the Hellenistic influence
in the Babylonian.
So yes, Babylonian influence as well. But the fact that like we know that Gnosticism in itself stems from Greek thought, and then you get the Hellenizing of the Jews, and then you get the oral Torah that is the secret knowledge that was given at Sinai. And it's like and then that just bled into rabbinic thought, which then creates the Talmud.
Chris,
So
would you say that determinism is rabbinic?
Yeah.
But that's not really what I meant to say was, do you think determinism, is it a largely held belief in Judaism today?
Modern Jews?
Yeah.
The
like not the
rabbinic
skeptical
ones.
or like the Orthodox
The
Judaism.
Orthodox Jews probably should. I don't know specifically because they also reinvented Judaism.
Yes.
With
You
Chabad
mean
and all that Hasidics.
what's his name?
The Messiah that wasn't the Messiah.
Well, the guy who like some people think was actually the same as this Muslim commentator. Do you know who I'm talking about? Ash Mays made a video about him. Oh my goodness. Yes, Maimonides, but he had a different name.
Well,
what was his name?
So I'm not talking about Rambam.
Rambam, thank you.
I'm not talking about him. No, after that, whenever the Chabad and Hasidic movement began, they had a failed Messiah that they were very upset about, but there was a bunch of believers in it, and they just stuck with that. So those versions of Orthodox Jews have very interesting beliefs. Then you have other versions of Orthodox Jews that are non-Hasidic who would probably follow more of the Kedar formula of
fate,
hardcore fatalism.
Yeah.
Each Jew is unique and special, though. Most Jews, the vast majority of Jews, are not Orthodox.
Yeah, they're not Orthodox.
A majority of them are also secular in general, but of the religious non-Orthodox Jews, which is still the majority, mind you, they mostly just follow the Torah and then read some of the commentators, but they're more Torah. Like when I think of a classical example of what a religious non-Orthodox Jew might look like, it'd be like Nuxtaku, ironically enough. But he went to yeshiva, which is more on the Orthodox rabbinic side, and then kind of rejected yeshiva a bit, but kind of it still bounced around in his head whenever he thinks about stuff. And then he just reads the Torah every year and accepts it and believes it. And it's like, yeah,
I've watched him a few
There you go.
times in some of his videos talking about things. He's been reviewing some David Wood videos on Islam.
He before because since the war, he's just been following the war stuff and posting like 7 times a day. But before that, before he did the Al Zut video, he was actually on stream going through all of Genesis and explaining it. So he was like exegeting Genesis, which was pretty neat. But in a very, very Jewish way. So
I think we're about wrap. I think we're getting close to the end of the presentation. I want to say, so again, I keep mentioning this, but this is on my list of reads, is the Essential Zohar, because I want to learn about the Kabbalism, because I want to do a
Really?
stream on occultism, esoteric stuff, Kabbalism. I find it fascinating, not in a good way.
How Kabbalistic
there
is
is
Hasidic Judaism?
extremely.
That's what I thought. I thought that
Yeah.
I thought that because from my understanding, the Hasids are very much that way.
Yeah. They invented it, basically.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Or if they didn't invent it, they perfected it at least. No, the Zohar's 1200s AD. The Hasidics are 15 or 1600s, if I remember correctly. They very much adopted, and they also like created the fourfold interpretation of scripture, the Peshat interpretation of scripture, or no, Perez. Perez is the 4 levels that they do. So Sod is the last level. It is the mystical interpretation of it. And Hasidics spend a lot of time on the Hassad, or not Hassad, the Sod interpretation of it. Peshat is the base level. It's the plain interpretation of the reading of it. Anyway, they spend so much time analyzing every single little thing they can spiritualize. It's kind of incredible. If you've ever looked up Rabbi Mordecai Kraft or any of the other things on the like secret knowledge or the Bible codes that you can do in Hebrew based on the meanings of letters, because each Hebrew letter has a meaning associated with it because of the pictographics. So you can use those as like a way to like pseudo explain every single word of the Bible. So like Shemaim, for example, is a teeth, a hand, a teeth, and waters. So it's like tearing apart by hand waters. So it's God separating from one water from the other water. So the heavens or the waters that God separated from the waters on the earth is kind of the idea. You do something like that, but for everything, and then that's essentially Cetism. You throw that in, then you also have all the other stuff with Kabbalistic ideas. Whenever we say Kabbalah and whenever we say like Gematria or any of those other things, there's 2 classes of people with that. There's the Orthodox Jews that are just like casual Hasidics or like hardcore Hasidics who are not like Gnostic Jews in a way. Then you have the other people who use the term Kabbalah and don't mean what the Jews mean. They're probably not even Jews, to be honest. And then they do go like full on Hindu Gnostic nonsense with it.
Right.
So not everyone who uses the term Kabbalah, like if you go to Chabad.org, they have a full section just explaining their use of Kabbalah. It's very different than like true Kabbalist who might think that there's like 3 races of gods and the serpent gods are fighting against the lion gods, and the lion gods are the ones in like, I'm not even joking. I've had this conversation with someone before. I might send you guys the screenshots of the conversation. It was really funny. But he was a Kabbalist and he believed Yahweh was just one of the species of the lion gods who are fighting against the serpents and the eagles. I think he had as his 3 races. So you have those people. The insane. He also said that we're living in the Matrix. That's why everything's green. Anyway, so you have like the crazies with it,
Makes sense
and then
to
you
me.
have the hyper mystical Jews. Those are technically 2 different classes. So if we do a stream on it, we will probably need to show examples of both. because those are very different. And they even use like certain things within it, like gematria, very differently.
Okay. Well, I need
Yeah.
to. I think I'm gonna put down. This is so gross. I think I'm gonna put down the book I was reading on Rome, because one of my cats threw up on it, and I cleaned it, but it still smells, and I can't
Oof.
do it. So I think I'm gonna just put that one to the side for a while, or buy a new one. And I might read the Essential Zohar to get the basic concepts down. Because I've been more. I don't know. I want to know about that
Well,
stuff because I find it fascinating. And again, for all the wrong reasons, just because it's like I think it's interesting in not a way like I guess you could call it the right reasons. It's interesting as I wanted to disprove it or just say like this is bunk.
Andrew,
There
have
is
you
a
read
divine
Tactics,
Messiah
though?
in the Zohar.
Sorry, Chase, what did you say?
Have you read Tactics, though?
I have not read Tactics.
Okay, well, you need to read
You should
Tactics
go read
first then.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You should read
All right,
Tactics
yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
I think this is like the third
that's not
stream
even
we've
an
talked about
option.
tactics.
Yeah, you should go read it.
All right. Let's get
stop what
let's
you're
try
doing,
and
like throw away the
okay.
puke book, go read Tactics, and then go back to the Zohar.
I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say
SPQR.
Tactics
good
is
book.
significantly more edifying than Zohar.
Extremely, yes. I do quote the Zohar in my Isaiah 53 video. So if you do end up watching that, you'll see at least 5 sentences from the Zohar.
Mm.
Oh. I flipped to a random page and saw something about the woman who can't be named, but she's I knew it was talking about Lilith. It was like the screech owl. I was like, okay, this is a bunch of nonsense.
The mother of
Anyways.
demons. Yes. She breeds and lays eggs and they come out.
Crazy. All right. Well, back on topic.
Kind of like Iblis. Anyway.
Try and burn through this. The hammers of skeptics have been pecking away at this book for ages, but the hammers are worn out and the anvil still endures. If this book had not been the book of God, men would have destroyed it long ago. That's really, really bright on my screen. Israel, God's prophetic proof. This is the proof, you see? God prophesied the birth of Israel. It's Exodus 12:41 to the day. God prophesied the rebirth of Israel, Ezekiel 4, Leviticus 26 to the day. I, the sovereign Lord, will gather you back from the nations where you have been scattered, and I will give you the land of Israel once again, Ezekiel 11:17. And the earth shall be made to give birth, and one day a nation shall be born at once, Isaiah 66:8.
Look at that mosque.
Oh, gosh. Ezekiel 4:3-6, God promised 430 years of punishment to Israel to be separated from her land as a sovereign power. 606 BC, Israel conquered by Babylon. 536 BC, 70 years into the punishment, only a few Jews returned to Israel. Most stayed in Babylon unrepentant. Leviticus 26:18-28, the Lord promises that he would multiply the remaining punishment by 7 times if Israel refused to fully repent. 430 minus 70 equals 360 years times 7, 2,520 years. And then you got, wait, is this the same thing? Hold on. Why did it just repeat it? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Convert solar years to Jewish calendar years. 2,520 years times 360 days a year equals 907,200 days. 907 2,000 days divided by 365.25 days a year. That's 2,483.8 years. And that gets us to the spring of 1948 when we get the rebirth of Israel. Is there a possibility that some of this, yeah, oh yeah, people, highly possible. However, there is this could, some might say this is a stretch. All right, I'm just saying, it's interesting. the state of Israel is born on the day. Where's the date? Oh my gosh, there it is. May, I think that says 16,
It says
1948.
16.
Yep, there it is.
14th.
Okay. The case for the Bible. Oh,
you do have the prophecy of Israel being born in a day, and that's very impressive for a nation to come into being overnight.
Mm-hmm.
That's never happened before. It's never happened since, to my knowledge.
This is what I've been like, as I've been researching Orthodoxy, because I spent most of last year researching Catholicism. It's one of the things they harp on a lot is the ideas about the like, oh, it was all like planned by Christian Zionists to, do all the, and what I've pointed out before, and I'll just say again, even if that were true, how does that refute that it's fulfilled prophecy?
Right. It doesn't.
Even if that was true, that it was by the design of powerful men to make, even if it was to make a prophecy happen. Okay. Could God not organize that? Could God not use wicked men to achieve his purposes?
He does that continually.
All the time. All the time.
So look at Nebuchadnezzar.
It's like, I can, they provide these arguments, and I'm like, I get what you're saying, but that does not necessitate that. Like, are you saying that man had power outside of God's hands? That man was able to achieve something that God didn't want man to do? Because, like, I'm not saying that he could have, he could just let it go, but by saying that man had more power in that scenario than God to do what they wanted to do, I don't know. It's an interesting, like,
I mean, that still doesn't work just because even if that was the case, they still ended up doing exactly what God said would happen.
Right. So it doesn't, it's just a very, I don't know. When I listen to what they try to argue, I'm just like, I don't understand how you don't see that this is fulfilled prophecy.
I mean,
and
the Lord also used people who didn't want Jesus to be the Messiah to prove that he was the Messiah. So, yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oddly enough, they do like fully lean into the regather, like to the idea that there will be a mass reconversion of the Jews. Like I've heard multiple Eastern Orthodox people talk about that they are 100% on board with that. There will be a mass conversion of Jews. And I was like, okay, so why can't you get, like, there's like a leap there that there can't be made. There, anyways. So over 6,000 New Testament manuscripts, along with the Dead Sea Scrolls, provide exceptional reliability unmatched by any other ancient text. So this is for manuscripts. And then A is archaeology. Hundreds of thousands of archaeological discoveries have verified the historical accuracy of the Old and New Testament accounts. Prophecy. The Bible speaks of kingdoms, people, and events hundreds of years before they even existed or occurred with perfect accuracy. Single theme. The scriptures written by over 40 human authors, 3 languages, 3 continents, hundreds of controversial topics, reveals one continuous theme: the redemptive love of God for mankind. We did it.
And
in under 2 hours.
Morality. Huh. I said and revolutionary morality.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important aspects of the Bible itself, is that it literally ended slavery. And that it gave all of humanity dignity, including women. So like female rights, unborn rights, foreign rights, no slavery, animal rights, taking care of nature, all that is because of the Bible.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've mentioned on stream before that you had the first you had the family, I don't remember their sister's name, but you've got Gregory, Basil, and their sister, who you had Gregory, who advocated, he was the first person to advocate against slavery in the Roman kingdom, in Rome, saying that like all humans had dignity in the eyes of God. And then Basil establishes the first hospital, and then their sister would pick up thrown away babies on the streets and essentially created the system of adoption, of modernized adoption.
That's kind of been a Christian thing for a long time. That before that, the exposing children, so like killing babies via exposure, which literally just means leaving them out by the wall of
on
the
the
city.
ground.
Yeah. There would be Christians who would go. And funnily enough,
Scoop up the babies.
Oddly enough, one of the evidences that we have of this is because Romans would report that they thought that Christians were killing and eating these kids. Not that they, I don't know why they would have cared that much, but they were reporting that that was a thing that they thought Christians were doing because of the body and the blood. So they thought that that's what we were doing to kids. But that's one of the ways we can verify that Christians have been saving lives since day one.
Also, it's super interesting. It goes against the whole Christianity is just an oppressive thing, oppressive religion that men started to oppress women. The vast majority of early Christendom was female. The vast majority. Why? Because the vast majority of babies that were left out to be killed through exposure were female.
Females.
Right.
So
they would either be
just
left out for exposure,
gather.
or they would go to they'd be raised in brothels.
Right. So a single orphanage ran by Christians in the first and second and third centuries of Christianity were mostly females. So you would just get like a 9-to-1 ratio of female to male for any church.
You also had like radically revolutionary views of like women. I read a book a while ago that was it was I can't remember her name, female author who was she taught at, I want to say Baylor, but I don't want to be wrong, but she did a whole like study where she basically tried to teach people that they were reading Paul wrong, because she did like a raise your hand question of how many of you like think Paul is like sexist and all this, and then she's like, you're just reading him wrong, like you don't understand what Paul did. And how like in the Roman culture, the only thing that women brought to the table in their understanding of gender roles was children, that they brought children forward, and that they were pretty much bound to marriage. Like if you weren't married as a woman, like you basically had no role within the society. And that when Paul gives his sexual ethic in his epistles, and he essentially liberates women from having to be married, when he starts saying like, you can be single and you can just be single for the Lord, and you don't have to give yourself over to like sexual desire. And that was radical. Like we look at that differently today because of the culture we currently live in, but in a antiquity understanding, that is a radical re-understanding of everything. that women were not just baby machines. They also could like go spread the gospel. They could also work for the church. They could be celibate for their life and didn't have to be I don't know. It was just very interesting. And I never thought about it that way. I never thought about like a reframing of like what Paul was getting across, because I just didn't understand Roman like ideology. And then telling men to be faithful to one woman, super radical. Because in Rome, men could have as many wives. Like you could have a wife and you could have as many like side pieces as you wanted. Like nobody cared.
And little boys.
And the sexual ethic of Rome. There was no sexual ethic of Rome. It was just baseless. It was right. Do what feels right. Yeah. And Paul restored dignity to human beings by saying like, no, like it would have been radical. Like, you would have been known to be a Christian by being a faithful husband. Refusing to indulge in carnal pleasure would have made you out to be a Christian, because it would have been so different from what was happening. Like, imagine going to a bathhouse and leaving because of the things that were going on within the bathhouse. That doesn't happen. You're going to get involved, right? You leave. There's something different about you.
Hey guys, there's this 13-year-old boy.
Oh yeah.
like no.
Funny.
Oh, they would go younger than that.
No, I know that, but like
13
things that we think are freaking wild was just common practice back in the day.
Yeah. No, as soon as you hit puberty, you were no longer attractive. So there's like love poems written to boys on how they're more beautiful than the most beautiful of maidens.
That's so gross.
That's only like
wonderful.
Like 6 or 7 to 11 to 12. Like, those are the age ranges that they were praising so much for the beauty.
Hold on. I'm trying to find the story. Sorry.
And if I remember correctly, there's like no Latin term for a male virgin, because you were expected to have already had intercourse in some way, some form, very young, especially with prostitutes. It was what you did.
There was I couldn't remember exactly who it was. Irenaeus talks about how John the Apostle fled from a bathhouse because he spotted the heretic Cerinthus inside. And so he rushed out without bathing because he feared the building would collapse due to the presence of the enemy of truth. That was like a standing tradition for the first, like first 100 years, that he disliked Cerinthus so much he wouldn't be in the same bathhouse with him. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, and now human sacrifice is reinstituted in America, called freaking Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. So Jock was pointing out how Romans hated human sacrifice, and they did. Part of that was because they just wanted everyone to get pregnant all the time, just to fuel the war effort, because you just needed bodies, man. Whenever you're going through a couple 100,000 human lives every like year or two, you need a lot of humans to reproduce to keep that number going. So they would just be like, if a woman wasn't pregnant, she would be pregnant soon, or they would do their best to get it that way. And they didn't they did practice euthanasia for defects, or if the child couldn't be nursed, or if the mom didn't want to nurse the child. So prostitutes would leave their kids out a lot, but Roman citizens themselves were expected to reproduce as many as they could to fund the war effort, because they didn't want to hire people. Like, hiring people is stupidly expensive. It was much cheaper to give a salary than it was to I say salary. The salary was literally a year's worth of salt. That's what they got paid in. Which is it's where we come from. So sal is the word for salt in Latin. So salary is literally how much salt you get in a year for serving the government. The more you know. And we just kept it for whatever reason. Then they would also do it with bread. So you would get a year's supply of bread, a year's supply of salt, or a year's supply of grain. And you could barter with it, or you would just use it to feed yourself. Way cheaper than hired mercenaries or militias that could, defect and kill you. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but Rome didn't usually practice drafting citizens from like conquered territories, did they?
Not usually, until they were like naturalized. Then they did. So like,
well, right, but like from my understanding, Greece and Rome, in order to keep a semblance of peace in most of the places they conquered, didn't just make them immediately go to battle.
Right now. Yeah. you would eventually, like, once the citizens are naturalized and they want to help the empire, then you would start churning out babies for the empire. But you wouldn't just conquer and then like, hey, give me your kids. That would just cause rebellion.
Exactly.
So Rome was very like, they have 3 gods of sex and orgies. So they're also getting drunk during the process. Like, you have street orgies. Just no other way to describe it. They would go out and just have public intercourse. So
Yeah, there it was. Everything that I have read about Rome, it's a it's wild. It's wild. All right. I mean, even one of their like narratives of how they came into existence involves like essentially rape. You know, like it's actually one of their narratives, but
they're
anywho,
nursing from wolves based.
It is a pretty interesting story.
yeah, Romulus and Remus getting nursed by a
Romulus' story
wolf.
is actually like, it's pretty interesting. Like, they were in the womb for years. Then they killed their mom coming out of her, and then they had to get nursed by wolves. That's pretty awesome. It's very Islamic sounding.
I was gonna say, with him and Muhammad, and
No,
Ace
that's what
Muhammad.
from One Piece.
Muhammad is the new Romulus.
No, now Ace is the new Muhammad, dude.
We was Romans.
It was Romans.
Have you
Yeah.
did you from IP and Orthodox Muslims debate, all the people in the chat were roasting IP for claiming, which is it's crazy because this is true, that the Ottomans actually viewed themselves as the inheritors of the empire when they
Byzantine
conquered
Empire.
the
Mhm.
Byzantines.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
the first emperor that came from the Turks, he called himself a Kaiser. He thought he was a Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
So when IP mentioned that, and everybody in the comment section was roasting him, saying that saying we was Romans. It's like, you just don't know the history. You actually don't know the history. And it's
Yeah.
crazy because you could just Google it. It's not that hard to find out that is actually true.
Dude, like, people are so, even like the Ottomans like flag is obviously pagan. Like, the crescent moon and the
Mhm.
star, those are pagan symbols
Yeah.
of Almaka. And what was the Venus? It's the male and the female consort. Like, Venus, so have you seen a moon and Venus conjunction when it's crescent?
I don't think so.
It's looks straight like the flag. But Venus is the brightest star in the sky. A lot of the times, whenever Venus is really seen, it just looks like a big star. And whenever you see it next to a crescent moon, you can just Google crescent moon and Venus conjunction. It is strikingly similar to all of the Islamic stuff. And that comes from Almaka, who was the lunar god of the pagan South Arabians. He was the main one who was worshipped inside of the Himyar kingdom and of the kingdoms that predated them in southern Arabia, basically modern day Yemen. They were a powerhouse. Them and Ethiopia were the powerhouse of the Middle East after the Egyptians fell. The Arabians, they worshipped a lunar god who was associated with snakes, who had 2 horns. He was known as the dual horn one. And he was also associated with Al-Wad, which is Wadud, so one of the names of Allah, and a couple of the other names of Allah. And yeah, that system of paganism appears to be tied to Hubal, and Hubal is Baal, but Hubal is also Allah. So Allah is actually a pagan deity from South Arabia and Middle Arabia that was blended with a couple other ones. And then the symbols that they used later on in Islam are all pagan, back to the original God that Allah was whenever he was strictly a pagan God. So before Allah became a monotheistic God, they're using all of his symbols from his pagan days, which is hilarious to me. Like, literally have pagan worship on their money and symbols and flags, and
It's
anyway.
pretty funny.
You're telling me that the crescent and the star isn't the symbol of pure monotheism, Chris?
No, yeah, it's actually two different deities. Yeah, two different pagan deities.
You're so Islamophobic.
Mohammedans, yep.
Oh man. All right. Well, guys, we're at 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream for tonight. And here I was thinking that we wouldn't get through this. Hey, I will go ahead and ask. There are 10 live viewers right now. If anyone has any questions, now is the time to put them in. I will give you like a few minutes, but then we're going to wrap up. If you have any questions that you would like answered, drop them in the chat now. If not, check us out on we do live streams. We weren't live last night. Adam had something come up, so we could not be live last night. But typically we do streams on Tuesday nights that I'm Seeker, where we discuss Islam, and then we do our Wednesday night apologetics streams, and then like you're on right now. Thursday we're with Chris on Defending a Lion, also talking Islam and occasionally some other things like Judaism. And then we try to post weekly, at least one video a week on our actual like posting cycle. And then who knows? I might even have 2 shorts out a week. Who knows? Shorts just come out. They're just there. I just pump them out. Get an idea, make it. And then yeah, we're in the thought process of doing another live stream, more of like an open debate stream for anybody who wants to just come debate or talk about any given topic, but that is something that will be future and may not be super consistent. We're still up in the air on that. Jobs are in the way. Jobs are hard. Get in the way of all the good stuff. Yeah, I think if there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So, guys, it was great. See you all tomorrow. And I hope that everybody who watches this checks us out. If you actually are seeing this on a Wednesday, check us out tomorrow night on Chris's channel at Defending a Lion. Also about 9 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Probably.
All right. Have a good night.
Peace.